Hey everyone, Norman Kinsey, your host at Real Estate vs. Technology. Welcome to all our viewers and listeners. We have a very special guest today. I'm over here looking at her. She's behind me on the screen as well. Welcome to Real Estate vs. Technology. Well, you'll get the inside scoop from top producing real estate professionals all around the country, best practices, techniques, and learn about what technology they're using to drive to ensure their success in this world we call real estate. Well, we have Bobbi Decker. She's with Sotheby's International Realty. When I first saw her website, when you can see it behind me, I thought it was the most interesting website. I didn't even tell you yet, Bobbi, that I've ever seen, because it's really cool, some great resources, video in the center, but more importantly, welcome, Bobbi, to the show.
Thank you very much. It's so fun to be here, Norm.
Yeah, of course. Actually, it was fun because I actually met Bobbi. I met you, Bobbi, over at the last time you did a presentation at Valley Real Estate Networking at Bay East Association. I was just like, man, I saw your husband. He had the shoes. I had the shoes going on. And you were speaking with a fire, and I can admire that. So I was like, I got to get her on the show.
Well, thank you very much. Because if you can't approach life with fire, there's just no real purpose to it.
So true. So true. So this show is all about you. We want to deep dive into your business, ask you what you're doing to grow your business, scale your business, how technology has affected your business. So we got a couple questions for you to start off. So what areas do you work in, how long you've been in the business, and what made you get into the business?
Okay. I tend to go where my clients want me to go.
Okay.
And aid them. If I can't actually be hands-on with them, I make sure that I vet the agents that they get in contact with. But I've been on the peninsula now, and it's been about 40 years. It has flown by.
Wow, you look amazing.
Well, thank you. I started when I was 4. No, I have to tell you, it has flown by, and it's been a fabulous career. And why did I get into it? I went in, unfortunately, very tough divorce, and there were no children involved, but I still knew I had to find a way to earn a really, really good living. And at the time, I was a teacher, loved teaching, and you'll see I've come like full circle.
Yeah.
And it's quite amazing. And that's just where my forte is. There's a wonderful quote that came out in the Wall Street Journal, Norm, just about 2 weeks ago when Jack Welch passed away. And he said, once you've become a leader, success is all about helping grow others. And see, I've got that actually hanging in my office.
I love that.
Isn't that a cool? And of course he did that. They asked him, what was your number one best decision? And he said, to actually work my way up the ladder and become CEO for General Electric. And then he said, and then what was your worst? And he said, actually the people I entrusted it to. That's got to be quite, and he was very clear on both of those. And so a journey up can also be a slight journey down.
Yeah, very true. Very true. I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah. I just love reading those kind of quotes and diving into what successful people do.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my God, I'm on the same page as well. So at the end of the day, so after all the stuff that you went through, what was like that thing that was just like real estate is it? Because you're teaching and whatnot, and what made you go into the let's help people buy and sell real estate?
Well, I have to tell you, Norm, it was a necessity. Necessity's mother of invention. I had to make a living, and there were some financial things I did not know about. But when you're in your mid-30s and you kind of lose all of those investments that you've been building up to, you have to recreate yourself and do better. It was stunning to me to go from teaching, where you don't get paid all that much, to selling product where the sky is the limit.
So true.
It was just an amazing rearrangement of like your mindset. And it was it. And once I got into it, I found that you don't really buy something or have somebody buy, you educate them, and they make the decision whether they want to sell or to buy or to wait. Like right now, a number of buyers are waiting, given what's going on with the pandemic and everything. So you don't say, no, buy now, because you may not have another. You just kind of go with that flow.
Yeah, so true, so true. A lot of coaching, mentorship,
Very
coaching.
very much so. I was an athlete my whole life and a dancer. And so, I had a lot of great coaches, and without them, I wouldn't have gotten where I went. Because I went to Boston
Mhm.
College, which was
Okay.
an all boys Jesuit school when I ended up there.
Wow.
And they did not like having us there. Jesuits were not happy campers.
I can imagine. I can only imagine. Wow. So 40-year career, I
Yes.
can only imagine you've seen highs, you've seen lows. What's been one of your best production level years for you?
Oh, I'm very, very competitive. So I tend to be in the top 5 or 10% every single year.
I love that.
Probably 35,
Okay.
40. I had a couple of very big houses, like 11 million
Yeah.
and things like that. So, and those were luck. People go, oh, how do you get those? Well, right place, right time in one case.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So for the listeners and viewers, is there anything that you can, like, tips or tactics that you can give to them? Was there any technology you used through that process to be able to be in that top caliber?
That's why I love talking to you, Norm, because you're so young. And I just have a lot of experience. I always call it the 3 E's. You have education, experience, and then your expertise. And with me, it's been experience. I look like I know what I'm doing now because I've been run over by enough Mack trucks and enough steamrollers to have gotten up. And it's resilience too. Resilience plays a big part in longevity.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I got into the business, believe it or not, television, video, a video in a tour, a tour of property, not video as we know it now with our iPhones and everything, and radio. And I also wrote newspaper columns for a number of years. So that was kind of very leading edge. Agents just didn't do that. Okay. So I had a TV show. One was based on women and women in business. The other 2 were real estate based. One was about seniors at living longer, living better. And then the other was general knowledge. And so that was, that was to brand me. I wanted people to just have Bobbi Decker, Realtor. Go right together. Yeah. And so that was my branding, a little old fashioned as we look back on it now. Did the radio show, I would probably say, brought me the most success. Wow. Okay. And that was because it was streamed and worldwide. And I was very surprised. And you've got to look at your metrics. You have to measure what you're doing. And a lot of people don't do that. And it was a business channel. Wall Street Business Channel was the radio show. And our top 3 areas were China. And wasn't Canada, but anyway, it kind of escapes me right now, but I was very, very surprised. I've got it here in my notes, but just very surprised because we thought it would probably be Canada, other English-speaking islands, and yet it wasn't. It's people who are looking to invest in the United States were the ones that glommed onto that program.
Interesting.
Isn't it?
So a lot of international buyers started coming in from that then.
Very much so. Very much so. And now it has evolved to the point where, I mean, you are like the guru of all of this now. And you just have to evolve as your audiences evolve and as new techniques and new technologies come on the market. And so now very much into blogging. I have two blogs per week. Nice. And again, general knowledge, and then the senior market, because I tend to very much gravitate because I'm right there. I'm there with the boomers. Yeah. And they want someone that they know has been through the same experiences that they have. Got it. Because the number one fear is that they lose all the money they've spent so much time acquiring. I can imagine. And make a decision that's irreversible. I can imagine. And yeah, we talk with our clientele about that, about, hey, like, what's a demographic or a target? And you hit the nail on the head. I mean, baby boomers, they might want to downsize. They don't want to lose their investments that they've had over the course of so many years.
And that's awesome that you're the one that they go to now. So what do you do now to like, what technology do you use to stay on top of mind for them? Are you still doing some of the radio or some of the like the newspaper type stuff, or you switched it up a little bit with social media involved now, or how do you do
I've switched it up with social media. You have to have your business Facebook page.
Yep.
And I was actually asked to launch a new course for NAR. You know, there are over 1.3 million realtors running around.
Yeah.
So how do you differentiate yourself? You need to do it with education.
Yes.
And they asked me to launch a new course called Marketing Strategies and Lead Generation.
Okay.
And I did that last November in San Francisco at their big national meeting.
Wow.
And it's like the 30,000-foot level, looking from an airplane down.
Okay.
And it tries to encompass everything. But the number one reason small businesses fail is they don't do a business plan.
Yes. Yeah.
And they don't write it down.
So
if
true.
they do, they go, well, it's in my head. Well, it doesn't work.
No.
Your head gets emptied out a lot during the course of the day. So it just doesn't stick. It's got to be in writing.
Yes.
And then it's surprising how you really stick to it. And then they don't do the SWOT. You know, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are my obstacles? What are my threats? What are my opportunities? That kind of thing. So there's no analysis that goes on. They just come into the business and say, I'm going to be rich.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be rich in a year.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't work that way. It really is an analysis. And then you look, do you want to just brand yourself? That's why I find this class to be so fun. And the students did too. They have to do a written floor plan. Business plan. See, you can tell I was with clients today. You have to do that business plan. And then you need to assess, where are you? And how are you going to get from point A to point B? And again, writing it all down. And then what are you looking for in social media? Because I know you know this, Norm, probably backwards and forwards, but are you branding? Are you trying to drive business? Are you just wanting to be word of mouth and get your name out there so that what is your goal with your social media? Because it can swallow you up.
Yes. Activity feed for sure. Just
absolutely
all day long. You're like, well,
I know, especially with this virus going around and all you do is see them. If you see any people out at all, that's, they're all glued. But it's being able to evolve and see, what am I trying to do here?
I love that. That makes a lot of sense. And I think a lot of individuals just kind of mindly just think to themselves, like, yeah, spear, friends, family, that's great. You might get some business, and then what happens? It tapers off. And then if you are on social media, it's great. But like I always preach, like, who's your ideal client? Is it a buyer? Is it a seller? And why are they looking to buy or sell? And if you could come up with content to help that first-time home buyer who's a millennial that wants to get into their first home and educate them and have good content, that could differentiate you, And if you use the proper hashtags and what have you, and you stay consistent day in and day out, you'll start attracting that instead of just randomly like, coming soon, just sold, just listed, here's a cool article. Like, you got to do something of value.
Different.
So, yeah, I definitely.
Oh, and I know the other two countries now. They're Mexico and the UK.
Wow.
So isn't that weird? China, Mexico, the UK were the top.
So from then to now, do you still see some repeat business from individuals outside the country that still use your services, or?
Well, it was actually yes and no, because China's dropped off dramatically. See, this has all changed, Norm. We were looking forward to an absolutely killer 2020, and now this has kind of settled everything down. No one knows where it's going to go, but in normal times, yes. And what I've started to do now is to try and make it more fun, to show people that you don't just send out, I just listed or I just sold, because people are like, really. I like to thank my clients, because I'm always up there in the top 5-10%, whatever. I think it's fine. And I want to thank them, because without their referrals, without them telling friends to come to me, without their repeat business, that wouldn't be. But I don't tell them every day, I just sold this, or I try to downplay that, because I want them to be very much aware that they drive my success.
That's so awesome. I love that. And storytelling on social media is so powerful. If you could tell a story, and I've been trying to tell individuals more and more on the liftoff agent side, like, hey, film a video testimonial, like film 3 videos around your listing, like a video of like walk with the seller and let them tell you the key characteristics and the things that they've upgraded in the home, and then flip it around and then do the walkthrough tour and highlight those things. And then at the end of escrow, interview them. How is the process?
Exactly. You've got it spot on. And
Right?
I've done that now. I'll go into the green. We were talking about this off camera, but
Yeah.
go into the green and I'll do a 30-second, 45-second happy 4th of July or thank you on Memorial Day to all of the armed services.
Yeah.
And they're short, but people love it.
Yes.
Love it. And now I've got one called Pause on the Pulse of Real Estate, PAWS.
Wow.
And that's my Maltese.
Okay.
And she gets more hits than I do, Norm.
Puppies, you know, little babies.
Oh, amazing. And it's the grandkids of my older clients, and then it's the children of my younger clients. They all like, when is she going to be on again, Mom? And I have the dog actually speak to issues of pet safety.
Okay.
Backyards, what are safe, or what kind of dog goes into what kind of house. A Jack Russell Terrier can tear apart an apartment, whereas a great big Saint Bernard will just sleep all day. I mean, you know, and I've had experts come on. Those were my TV shows. I had lots and lots of super talented people come on and give helpful hints. And now I try and take them and repurpose them in the podcasts and things.
I hope our listeners and watchers are hearing and taking notes here now, because that is some really good insights, insights. And that's really things that I'm not always seeing out there. And taking in those experts and tying that in, that's big. I mean, you know, and the listeners and also viewers should do the same thing with like restaurants in the local neighborhoods to be able to give back or do something with those and work together, you know, and co-brand. So,
and it's easy to do that with our smartphones.
Yes.
You know, you can go right over to that little deli that just opened across the street, and 45 seconds later, you've got something you can just stick on up and say, you know, support them, be neighborly. I call it be neighborly.
I love that. And your phones these days, 4K, 1080p, hold it up. Hey, everyone, how's it going? Super simple. Have someone hold it for you. That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, where do you see yourself, kind of move on the show here, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years with everything going on in your business? Where do you see yourself? What do you want to do moving forward with the whole how technology is changing and everything else?
Well, staying on top of it, of course, because you just need to in order to stay fresh and to so that your clients don't think that you're kind of archaic.
Yes.
My next 5 years, I really see becoming more of the instructor. And that's so true, because now is my time to give back. I've had my 40 years to build my little portfolio, and I've done it. Yeah. So it's like been there, done that. Now I want to do the Jack Welch thing, and that is to grow the success of up and coming agents. And I don't think they're getting enough insight. I don't think they're getting enough education, and they need to set themselves out apart from the 1.3 million that are running around saying, I'm going to be a success. I have no idea how, but I'm going to be a success. Yes. And that just doesn't work. If you can get, like when you go to a CPA, you go to a CPA, you don't say, I'm going to my accountant.
No, you don't. So
you know, you want that little acronym after the name. So I've got the CIPS, which is Certified International Property Specialist. That's where they will feed referrals to me, or I will feed them going out. I look for another agent that has that, because then I know my clients will get a certain level of service. Because it takes an entire week to get that. Yeah.
Wow. That's really cool. I'm looking forward to the part where we say, hey, open it up. The floor is yours. You can tell us more information about these courses. That's awesome. So fantastic. So before we get closer to the end of the show, we have a couple last questions for you. So if I was a new agent, and I'm sure we have some new agents or agents that have been in business for maybe a year or so, and they want to get to the next level of success, what type of advice or tips would you give them?
Get tough.
Love it.
Become resilient. Because there are three things that I don't think they really look at. New agents, they want to be nice. They want to help people. I hear that word over and over again, but you will get knocked down. There are some very mean, self-centered people in the world. They simply exist.
Yes.
And it's very emotional buying and selling a house.
Yes.
Extremely emotional. Sometimes it is a divorce. Sometimes it's the death of a partner. Sometimes it's a job move that maybe one of you wants and the other one wants to stay exactly where they are. Mm-hmm. So there's that pull and tug. So you need to be empathetic without being sympathetic. Sympathetic, you'll get sucked into the process. So I just tell them, try to stay detached, but also in the same way, be knowledgeable. Fill yourself with knowledge and then be resilient. Because if you can't pick yourself up off the ground, and you will get run over.
Yes.
And it's not going to work. It just won't, Norm. You know that. Yeah, I can tell by your personality.
Yeah. Well, no, thank you. I appreciate that.
No, but you can sense it with people. Mm-hmm. And some coming in, and when I'm teaching and giving the talk to the new people, it's called agent orientation for the newbies. Okay. I'll say, this is a sad statistic, but 70% of you won't be here next year.
So
that's true. Huge.
It is so huge. And you hear agents want to break into the luxury market, and I can only imagine the type of things you had to probably deal with in that demographic. You know what I'm saying? They're ruthless. They're just like, I want it now. I want it yesterday.
Yep.
And
and sure give it to me.
Yes.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
And it's my way or the highway. And unfortunately in Silicon Valley, we've got a lot of them. So who gives? Who is the one that gives in the transaction? If everyone in the transaction has that attitude.
Yes.
And actually, another thing I do try to counsel them on is to not think of it as their house or their purchase or their sale. It's they're the conduits. They're like a tugboat that's going to get two big ships out into the ocean and hopefully together. Yeah. And it's not. They can't personalize it. They're the conduits of getting something done.
Yeah.
That's the sales process. And so I would just say, stay open and understand and understand what you're doing. Write yourself a business plan, because people will say, well, I've been doing this and doing this and doing this, and I'm getting no ROI, no return on investment. So it's like, why are you still doing it? There's so many other things nowadays that you can do.
Yes. So true. So true. Wow. That's awesome. So take some notes for our viewers and listeners out there. So awesome. So now, any books or podcasts or anything you would recommend for someone to potentially read up on, or even make courses for them to help them?
The what one?
Books, courses, anything that you would recommend?
Oh, yes. I'll tell you what, we've been talking about service and helping your clients, but being resilient. Yes. The Fred Factor is a great one. The Fred Factor. And they still have that in print. And then the other one I think is outstanding is Unthink. UNTINK. Unthink. And that's Ken Wall. He is brilliant. They had him at one of our big, they call him the GNEs, the Global Networking.
Okay.
That Sotheby's does. And he was up on stage, and now he's giving this whole big talk, never missing a beat as he's sketching. Yeah. And everyone's going, what in the world? What is he doing? No one could make out what it was he was painting on the stage. And then he stopped and he said, and what do you think of my etching or my painting? And everyone's like, yeah, well, it's kind of cool. He goes, can you guess who it is? And no, he had sketched Steve Jobs upside down on the stage while he's giving a lecture.
Wow.
And it was because when he flipped it over, everybody's like, well, of course it's Steve Jobs. But I know. And he was told when he was younger that he was ADD and he'd never amount to anything because he couldn't concentrate. And now look at him. I mean, he did it out. Unthink. And
so he did that to then reverse engineer his ADD and all over the place. It kept him focused, and Wow. Talk about multitasking.
Oh, and then he threw an airplane out into the audience, and somebody caught it, and he said, okay, stand up. And he said, now what are you going to do with it? And he goes, I'm going to give it to her, because he thought, probably, what is he going to make me do, right?
Yeah.
So then the gal stood up, and he goes, I'm going to give you like this huge bonus surprise, wonderful gift. I don't know what it was right now. I can't even remember. But if he had held on to this, see, don't be afraid of something new. He should have held on to that little paper airplane, and he would have been the recipient of that huge gift. But he said, I want to just show you that your mind's not wired to do that. You back off from what you don't know. So don't be afraid to try, as long as it's not illegal or immoral, right?
Yes, exactly. Wow. That's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing. And now we're getting closer to the end of the show. This is the good part. This is where we get to just open the floor up to you and, anything that you're working on or courses that agents should go to. Go ahead and take it away. Floor is yours. What should our viewers, listeners know?
Well, I just would say get educated. Get some of those studies under you, because an accredited buyer's representative now, they're going to having buyer representation. If that is, if that's split up where you have seller representation, buyer representation, you're going to need to have a document that has that buyer looking at you as their agent the same way a seller does. You wouldn't take a listing without a listing document. Well, This is the same way. So it's getting into the newness of all of this. And I see it more in some states. I know in Texas, you cannot have a transaction unless you do have a buyer-broker agreement. So, it depends on where you are in the country. California's always flown by the seat of their pants. That's just what they're known for. And so, it's just kind of, well, what really would help me take my skill set and then fly? So I'm around, and we have our schedule is posted online. I've got 2 YouTube channels. One is for the teacher, Bobbi Decker instructor, and then Bobbi Decker broker. So depending on what you want to know about, you would go to one and or the other. There are video testimonials, shows you how you can do a real quick one. And just stay on top, be the best that you can be, and you will get that success.
I love it. Well, Bobbi, thank you so much for being on the show. We'll have her information below so you guys can all check her out. Facebook links and what have you. We do have our website behind us, which is pretty awesome. And thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you so much for our listeners getting to hear and also watch and get to learn. It's always our intention for someone to take something from the episode and apply it to their business today so they can have more massive success. So thank you so much, Bobbi. Appreciate you.
Thank you for the opportunity, Norm. This has been a blast.
Of course. No worries. And thank you to our watchers and our listeners. And stay tuned for the next one and take care. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. We hope you found value and took something you can apply to your business today. Be sure to join our community on Facebook, Real Estate vs. Technology, all spelled out. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We would appreciate it. It's Real Estate Tech. And of course, if you or someone else you know would like to be a part of our show, just go ahead and send us an email. It's reversetechtalk@gmail.com, and we'll see you next week.